When it comes to climbing, how much of our success is within our control? I often like to break down the area of our control into 4 categories: the physical, the psychological, the tactical, and the technical. However, each of these categories have a great number of subcategories. And when we really look at this, we come to realise that we won't come even close to having 100% mastery over any of them all of the time. On top of that, we have to take in that the conscious mind can only focus on roughly 4 things in any one moment, which even puts a limit on the things that we do think we have control over. And then on top of that, when we encounter stress, it is not uncommon to lose our ability to focus on or control even a fraction of these elements. And these are just the things that are normally within our control. Then there are some areas that we have a blurred or hard to define relationship of influence with. This might include things inside of us, such as our organs and nervous system, or things outside of us, such as the actions of others or the friction of the rock. Lastly, there are infinitely more variables that we don't have control over, leaving us in a position that when we really come to examine it, shows that on a moment-to-moment basis, our relationship over controlling our success might be a lot more different than we think. The magic number. In a podcast called Caffeine for the Soul, Coach Michael Neal talks about a businessman who defines the area of control that he thinks he had over his achievements as being 51%, and that there is something rather magical about this number. At first, this may seem like a bleak number to set our beliefs on, but when we come to look at it, it allows for a wonderful sense of freedom. If our odds were higher, we would begin to get lost in trying to control and stay on top of every little detail, and then likely turn to frustration and self-criticism each time things invariably don't turn out our way. And if we believed that our odds were 50% or less, then we would find that we wouldn't put much effort in to trying to control our situation, because the odds are stacked against our favour and outside of our control. However, 51% allows us to enter into the challenge, yet knowing that there is a great deal of chance. But when we stay in the game long enough, we have the subtle ability to nudge the odds in our favour over time. And so if this number is even slightly true, then what about the 49% that we don't have control over? This is where the mindful foundation of letting go can really come into play. We can think of this in terms of intention and outcome. The 51% of our attention can go towards our intention, which in this instance I'd like to describe as focusing on how we would like to be throughout our challenging moment. Traditionally, the other 49% of this energy is often spent in trying to bend the unpredictable rules of nature, both inside and outside of our bodies and mind, towards achieving our outcome. The letting go comes from stopping our attempts to try and control the outcome, and instead creating a space for uncertainty and unpredictability to bounce and flow and happen around us without our need to influence it in any particular way. When we recognise our amazing ability to stay with our intention of how we would like to be in any given moment, and also our amazing inability to truly impact exactly how things are going to turn out, our letting go allows us to turn up to our challenge with a huge amount of room and energy to respond in synchronicity with the uncertainty, rather than trying to fight against it. This concept embodies some of the idea of effortless action, or non-forcing, that is spoken of in great deal in Chinese philosophy under the term Wu Wei. I'd like to leave you with a quote from Adamondra, who here is speaking about the route change that he completed in 2012, which at the time was the climb of the highest grade in the world. He says, "Success on such a hard route consists of different factors, such as a huge amount of luck, good conditions, mental strength, and definitely a good shape, and patience. When I'm on the route for way too long a time, an enjoyable experience turns to a desperate, stressful process, and it's very hard to deal with that. Despite that, you have to keep the faith and motivation to keep trying it all over again, until the day when all these factors come together, and one day it happens. I'd just like to say a massive thank you to my Patreons for their continuing support. It makes a massive difference to my ability to make these videos. And if you're not a Patreon but would like to become one, then please check out my Patreon channel, which is in the link below this video. I'd also like to thank my subscribers, and be sure to like and subscribe this video if you haven't done so already. And I wish you a pleasant life and awesome climbing.